Hello Zaniacs, welcome back to Zaniac TV. I'm your host Zane, and today we're going over week 9 affixes, which is Fortified, Inspiring, Storming, and Prideful. If anyone has any questions, I do stream live on Twitch 4 days a week. I also offer Mythic Plus analytics and coaching through Patreon. For this run, I did Theater of Pain on a 15, and I did it intentionally because there's a few things that I want to show you with these affixes with Theater of Pain. We did successfully time this run. We had a couple of hiccups along the way, but all in all, we did end up timing it. This week is Fortified, which means the trash mobs are a lot harder than the bosses. Bosses will drop super fast, and you will have to deal with them a lot shorter.
We don't have to do mechanics. We don't have to do mechanics.
No, you still have to do mechanics.
Oh man, I got way too happy way too fast.
But don't worry, the bosses don't last nearly as long, so you'll be okay. Now, they did bring in a lot of dungeon nerfs, so the trash will not be as hard as it was last week, because don't forget, last week we also had to deal with bolstering. Regardless, initial hits and most trash packs, they're going to hit you harder than they hit you last week. They'll have a little bit more health, it'll take a little bit more time to get killed, but it's still fortified, which means bosses are going to be a joke. Watch the timer. The timer is going to be a little misleading, because bosses die so fast, you'll still be able to time it. Feel free to use DPS cooldowns as much as you can on trash, even if they're not really up for bosses, because the more you can push the trash, the faster you can get the bosses. Bosses don't last very long, so don't be afraid to use your DPS cooldowns. Inspiring means a trash mob will have Inspiring, which what that does is everybody around it, you are unable to crowd control them or interrupt them, but you can crowd control and interrupt the Inspiring one. So if there's a trash pack that has an Inspiring mob and one of the other ones needs to be interrupted, you're not going to be able to interrupt it. You're not going to be able to stun it. You're not going to be able to do anything, and you have to sit there and take it. We got Withering Discharge because there was nothing we could do about it. So you have two options here. You could either CC it, pull everything else away from it so you're able to do everything, or you just blow it up as quickly as you can. You're going to have to use your best judgment on these trash packs, which ones you're going to want to just blow up really quick, or on which ones you want to CC. There's a healer, you're going to want to CC it. If there's a hard caster that you have to interrupt, you're going to want to CC it. If it really doesn't matter, and you have the damage and you guys have the cooldowns, just burn it down, kill it, and you'll be fine. Do remember, though, that since it's fortified, the trash packs are stronger, so having to deal with certain trash packs while inspired will make it a lot more difficult. But with the nerfs, you're not going to have to kite nearly as much, but still be careful on certain trash packs. Storming and Inspiring are both new to Shadowlands, and now they're putting both of those affixes together. What Storming is it spawns a tornado on top of the target that includes bosses, and it rotates 360 degrees with a whirling tornado. If you get caught in the tornado, it does damage, and it throws you up, and you have to land. This mostly affects tanks and melee, but range should also watch out for it too, especially with certain stacking points, and it does rotate from its starting point. That's not the epicenter, though. The epicenter could go in any direction, but there is a rotation that you do have to watch out for. The reason why I ran Theater of Pain is because of the platforms. Platforms make it very difficult to be able to navigate through the storming, and as you see here, I did get hit by the second tornado, which threw me off of the edge because I was so busy trying to avoid other tornadoes. Lucky for me, I had Transcendence. If I was not a monk, I would have been in serious trouble. The best thing to do to deal with storming is pull them away from it. You bring the mobs, get your threat, and pull them away from it, which is kind of counterproductive to the nerf, because the nerf was trying to get you to not have to kite, but now you have to kite anyway. Something you could try to do if you're a tank or a melee is stand in the middle of where the storming came from, because like I said, it rotates 360 degrees. So if you stand in the middle, like the eye of the storm, you'll be safe. While paired up with Inspiring, remember, you're going to want to be kiting backwards for storming, and Inspiring doesn't allow you to CC or anything. So if you have ranged mobs attacking you with the Inspiring, you're not going to be able to pull them as far away from the storming as you need to. So if it's a caster or something you need to interrupt and there's swirlies going around, you got to be extra careful with that. So pretty much the best thing to do is kill the Inspiring and avoid the storming. This makes this incredibly hard on platforms, which is what I said earlier, but just reiterating, platform areas will make it a lot more difficult to deal with storming rather than open areas. Tight hallways are not going to do you any favors either. So how does all this affect Prideful? If you're killing a pack that has an Inspiring that you're going to get Prideful, you might be thrown off because you're thinking, oh, let me just kill the Inspiring really quick, or let me CC the Inspiring. But just make sure it's a healthy balance when you have the percentage. If you have to kill them all at the same time, be sure to do that. Prideful does not spawn stormings, but the trash does. So if you have any trash packs up while Prideful is up, then you will have to deal with storming. However, if everything's dead, you don't have to deal with any extra stormings other than the ones that were already up from before. Since it's Fortified, some groups want to get Prideful for some harder trash packs. Some still say, oh, let's just line up for the bosses, get rid of the bosses real quick. I mean, we did kill Mordretha in 1 minute and 3 seconds. So, like for example, this pull here, I usually had problems with it, so I wanted to get Prideful for this. So how I did that was I skipped the first 3 trash packs at the beginning, and we had Prideful for Mordretha. Normally on Fortified weeks, I wouldn't want to have Prideful for Mordretha. I'd rather have it more for different trash packs, but that's just how this lines up. With the new nerfs, I haven't actually done all of the dungeons yet, but it's a lot easier now with the new nerfs, so having Prideful in different areas might be more ideal, but I generally try to keep them to the bosses anyway, because the faster a boss dies, the less you have to do the boss. But just like always, the Prideful lines burst out in all cardinal directions, so if you guys line up perpendicular to the cardinal directions, no one will ever get hit ever. Then again, this diagram is easier said than done, and trying to do this in a pug group would be a lot more difficult, but hey, at least try. So what dungeons are going to be difficult this week? Well, I honestly can't answer that with all the nerfs. However, because of the way storming works, they didn't change the terrain of the maps. So Theater of Pain is going to be a little bit more difficult with the tornado storming. Like for a while, I had a running joke that Mordretha was going to be hard, but today I downed her in 63 seconds. Sanguine Depths with the tight hallways is going to be a little bit more complicated with storming. Necrotic Wake's tight margin of error percentage for trash is going to be more complicated, especially with inspiring mobs and storming. We don't want to accidentally pull extra. Outside of that, I'm not entirely sure because of all the nerfs that came out. I will test all the dungeons out and be able to have a more informed answer for you guys next week. But overall, if you guys manage the inspiring and the storming, dungeons should be really easy this week. You guys got this. Go get your Keystone Masters. I believe in you. Have fun. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.